I never thought I'd end up in handcuffs on my own front lawn, surrounded by Secret Service agents who looked more confused than I felt, all because some busybody in a visor decided my backyard barbecue was a national security threat. It started with a single whine from across the fence, high-pitched, entitled, like nails on a chalkboard fused with a toddler's tantrum. But by the time the sirens wailed, I'd already plotted her downfall in my head, the kind that doesn't involve lawyers or fists, just cold, calculated exposure. And oh, the irony. The woman who'd spent years terrorizing our neighborhood with her HOA clipboard had no idea she just dialed 911 on the wrong kind of foreign invaders, ambassadors from half a dozen countries, here to toast American hospitality, not dodge Karen's pitchfork. That was the night everything cracked open, the moment when the mask of suburban civility slipped, revealing the rot underneath. I'm Jake Harlan, a mid-level diplomat coordinator for the State Department. The guy who wrangles international VIPs through endless briefings and bland hotel brunches. But on that balmy July evening in Willow Creek Estates, a gated slice of McMansion heaven outside D.C., I was just trying to host a low-key mixer for a delegation fresh off the red-eye from Europe and Asia. Picture it. String lights twinkling over the grill, laughter echoing off the Macintosh trees I'd planted myself after the divorce, and a playlist of Springsteen and Coltrane to keep things loose. My guests, ambassadors from France, Japan, Nigeria, and a couple others, were loosening their ties, swapping stories about their kids' soccer games and the absurdity of airport security. No speeches, no agendas, just real talk over ribs and craft IPAs. Then came the screech. What in God's name is that racket? This is a family neighborhood. Her voice sliced through the fence like a weed whacker through petunias. I froze mid-flip of a burger patty, glancing at Ambassador Okoye for Nigeria, who raised an eyebrow with that perfect blend of amusement and disdain only a seasoned diplomat can muster. Racket? Mate, this is diplomacy, murmured the Brit attaché beside him, chuckling into his beer. But I knew that voice. Karen Whitaker, self-appointed CEO of the Willow Creek, HOA Queen of the Covenants, enforcer of the unspoken rule that fun was taxable per square foot of lawn. I'd crossed paths with her before. The time she fined me $200 for parking my truck in the driveway overnight because it detracted from curb appeal. The petition she circulated after my ex left, claiming my emotional distress was lowering property values. Never mind that I'd mowed her lawn once during a snowstorm when her ancient Toro broke down. Karen was the kind of neighbor who measured your grass with a ruler and reported you to the board if it dared exceed 2.5 inches. Obese in that way that made her waddle more than walk. With a face perpetually twisted into a lemon-suck grimace, she embodied every HOA horror story you'd ever heard on Reddit. But tonight was personal. I tried to play it cool, waving off the interruption with a forced laugh. Ignore it, folks. Just the local wildlife. But Karen wasn't having it. The gate to my backyard, technically her jurisdiction since it bordered the common green, creaked open, and there she was, visor perched like a crown of thorns, clipboard clutched like a Bible, her moo-moo straining against the evening breeze. Mr. Harlan, this bacchanal ends now. Open flames after 8 p.m.? Alcohol in view of minors? And who are these people? Undocumented workers? I'll have code enforcement here in 5. Ambassador Leclerc from France, a silver-haired fox with a mustache that screamed joie de vivre, stepped forward with a bemused smile. Madam, we are guests of your fine country. Perhaps a glass of wine would soothe the evening. But Karen's eyes narrowed to slits, scanning the group like we were a cartel unloading contraband. Guests? Huh, looks like a block party for vagrants. I'm calling the authorities. This violates Article 7, Section 4B. No gatherings exceeding 10 souls without prior board approval. I should have let it slide, turned up the music, handed her a plate of slaw. But something snapped. Maybe it was the fresh divorce scars, or the fact that these were men and women who'd brokered peace treaties while she brokered busybody bylaws. Karen, I said, voice steady as the Potomac, these aren't randos from the Home Depot parking lot. They're ambassadors, official visitors. You know, the The folks who keep the world from imploding so you can binge-watch Hallmark in peace. Her laugh was a bark, wet and dismissive. Ambassadors? In Willow Creek. Pull the other one, Harlan. You're delusional from all that single dad stress. I'm dialing 911 right now, disturbing the peace, potential trespassing, and God knows what else. She whipped out her phone, pudgy fingers jabbing the screen with the fervor of a televangelist. The group fell silent, a ripple of awkwardness spreading like spilled Merlot. Ambassador Sato from Japan bowed slightly, murmuring something about cultural misunderstandings, but I could see the flicker of offense in his eyes. Sirens pierced the night before the first responder even hung up. 2 squad cars rolled up, lights painting the cul-de-sac in staccato blue and red, neighbors peeking from behind curtains like extras in a low-budget thriller. Officer Ramirez, a guy I'd shot the breeze with at the community block party last fall, hopped out first, looking harried. Dispatch said noise complaint and suspicious gathering. Ma'am, you the caller? Karen puffed up like a parade float, pointing a sausage-link finger at my gate. That's right, officer. This man's turning his property into a flop house for foreigners. Look at them, shifty, plotting who knows what. And the fire. It's a hazard. Ramirez sighed, the weight of 1,000 Karens on his shoulders, and sauntered over. I met him at the fence, flashing my State Department badge before he could even ask. Jake Harlan, sir. This is an official diplomatic event. Low profile but vetted. These gentlemen are accredited ambassadors. France, Japan, Nigeria, Sweden, the works. Karen hears. Overreacted. His eyes widened as I gestured to the group, who were now clustered politely, IDs at the ready. Leclerc handed over his diplomatic passport with a flourish. Bonsoir, officer. A pleasure, under the circumstances. Sato nodded gravely. Okoye offered a warm grin that could disarm a room. Ramirez radioed it in, his voice dropping to that hushed tone cops reserve for holy shit moments. Dispatch, stand down. We got international incident potential here. Ambassadors on scene. Karen's face drained of color, then flushed beet red, her jowls quivering like Jell-O in an earthquake. This is a lie. A setup. He's been gunning for me since that fine on his ugly truck. But the second cruiser pulled up, disgorging not just uniforms but dark-suited feds, Secret Service liaisons who'd been shadowing the delegation discreetly. One of them, a stone-faced woman named Agent Hale, leaned in to Ramirez. Everything squared. We can't have this blowing up on CNN. By now, the neighbors were spilling out. Mrs. Patel from next door with her phone recording, old Mr. Jenkins in his robe muttering about that which finally stepping in it. Karen tried to backpedal, her voice climbing octaves. Officers, surely you see. HOA rules are law here. I was protecting our community values. But Ramirez just shook his head, turning to her with the patience of a man who'd cited her twice before for excessive holiday decorations. Ma'am, you just 911'd a room full of foreign dignitaries. That's not a fine. That's a felony in the making. Diplomatic immunity cuts both ways. Yours just got revoked. As the cops escorted her to the curb for a statement, the ambassadors circled back to the grill like nothing happened, Leclerc clapping my shoulder. Mon ami, your barbecues are legendary. Even the police theater adds flavor. Laughter bubbled up again, but mine was edged with something sharper. Vindication, yes, but laced with the slow burn of years of her petty tyrannies. That night, as the stars wheeled overhead and the ribs cooled on the platter, I made a vow. Karen Whitaker wasn't done paying. Not by a long shot. The fallout hit like a nor'easter the next morning, my inbox a war zone of forwarded emails and next-door threads, exploding with schadenfreude. Did you hear? Karen called the cops on ambassadors? At Jake's place. One read, with 147 likes and a string of eggplant emojis that said more than words ever could. Mrs. Patel had posted the video, grainy but gold. Karen's waddle retreat as Agent Hale loomed, her visor askew like a fallen halo. By noon, it had 5K views, the comments a bonfire bile. Finally, someone shoving that clipboard where the sun don't shine. HOA Hitler meets her match, diplomatic immunity FTW. I sipped my coffee on the porch, the same spot where I'd watched my marriage unravel 2 years back. Ex-wife's U-Haul vanishing down the drive while Karen happened to mow her lawn extra loud. Back then, she'd cornered me at the mailbox, all faux sympathy. Divorce is hard, Jake, but standards must be maintained. No sulking in the yard scares the children. As if her own spawn, a trio of feral teens glued to Fortnite, were paragons of decorum. That coffee tasted sweeter now, black and bold, as I scrolled the carnage. Work called mid-morning. My boss at State, chuckling through the line. Harlan, you throwing UN summits in your backyard now? The French embassy's sending a thank you note and a case of Bordeaux. But seriously, that woman's lucky we don't slap her with an intent to disrupt charge. You good? I assured him I was, but the gears were turning. Revenge wasn't about lawsuits. It was surgical, public, the kind that stripped away the armor of anonymity suburbia provides. Karen had built her empire on whispers and fines. Time to amplify into a roar. First stop, the HOA board meeting scheduled for that very evening in the clubhouse. A beige bunker of folding chairs and flickering fluorescents. I'd skipped the last few, too buried in visa wrangling, but tonight? Front row, notebook in hand like a journalist on deadline. The room buzzed as I walked in. 30-odd residents, the air thick with potluck casseroles and pent-up gripes. Karen held court at the head table, her chair creaking under the weight, flanked by her yes-men. Boring Bob the treasurer and Sheila the secretary, who once fined a widow for unkempt grief after burying her cat. She launched into her report with forced gusto, visor gleaming under the lights. As you know, Willow Creek thrives on vigilance. Last night's incident was a necessary enforcement of our noise ordinance. Certain elements seek to undermine our values, but rest assured, I raise my hand, casual as a wave. Point of order, Madam Chair. That incident involved calling armed response on 7 foreign ambassadors, accredited diplomats, on U.S. soil in our community. Gasps rippled like wind through wheat. Karen's mouth opened, closed a landed base. Mr. Harlan, this is not the forum for fabrications. The police confirmed it was a simple misunderstanding. But Mrs. Patel was already on her feet, phone aloft. Misunderstanding? It's viral, Karen. 20K views and climbing. The Post picked it up. Suburban sovereign summons SWAT on sovereigns. Laughter erupted, sharp and cathartic, Bob shifting uncomfortably as if his hemorrhoids had just declared independence. The tide turned fast. Jenkins, the rogue guy, stood next. I've had it with your witch hunts, Whitaker. Find me from my flagpole obstructing views. Views of what? Your empty bird feeders? I second a vote of no confidence. Hands shot up like Jack-in-the-Boxes, 2025. Karen pounded her gavel, a plastic mallet that sounded like a whimper. This is outrageous. I'm the CEO. I built this HOA from nothing. But her voice cracked, the Emperor's new clothes dissolving in real time. By meeting's end, she was unseated, interim board scrambling to review protocols. As folks filed out, slapping my back like I quarterbacked the Super Bowl, I caught her eye across the room, deflated visor in hand, mascara tracks carving rivers down her cheeks. You'll regret this, Harlan, she hissed as I passed. I know things about you. That divorce? Not so clean. It was a bluff, the last gasp of a cornered bully, but it lit a fuse. If she wanted war, I'd give her scorched earth. The next week blurred into a frenzy of petty salvos. Anonymous letters in my mailbox, traitor to the cul-de-sac, and signed but reeking of her bargain bin perfume. Fines piled up overnight. $50 for overgrown hostis, $75 for unauthorized political signage. My Biden-Harris sticker from 20, faded but fierce. She even sicked her minivan on my Prius, accidentally keying the door while inspecting the curb. Neighbors rallied, though. Patel's husband fixed the scratch gratis. Jenkins dropped off a six-pack with a wink for the ambassador fund. But the real payback brewed in the shadows, fueled by insomnia and that old divorce rage. I'd always been the nice guy, mowing for shut-ins, hosting block parties that Karen inevitably crashed with her rulebook. betrayed not just by my ex's affair with her yoga instructor, but by this neighborhood's silent complicity, letting Karen's toxicity fester like mold in the rec room. Time to flip the script. It started small, a tip to the local Fox affiliate, framing it as HOA overreach, when Neighborhood Watch goes nuclear. They bit, sending a perky reporter named Tiffany with a mic and a minicam. I played it straight. Grateful citizen, shocked by the breach, but oh, the backstory. Karen's reign of fines totaling $15,000 last year alone, her anonymous complaints to child services about my neglectful lawn care post-divorce. Tiffany's eyes lit up. By airtime, it was lead story. Karen cornered her driveway, babbling about deep state conspiracies involving my shady diplomat pals. The backlash snowballed. National outlets piled on. CNN's The Karen Chronicles, a viral TikTok series dubbing her visa violator. Sponsors dropped her side hustle. The essential oils MLM she'd hawked door to door. Even her church ladies group ghosted the annual bake sale. I watched from afar, curating the chaos like a conductor, leaking board minutes showing her skimming pool fees for administrative Perrier, forwarding emails where she plotted to out my ex's fling to the PDA for leverage. She cracked on a Thursday, pounding my door at dusk, rain sheeting off her poncho like a soggy flag of surrender. "Jake, Mr. Harlan, please. Call them off." The news, the posts. My husband left. Said I embarrassed him. Her eyes, puffy and pleading, searched mine for mercy. Up close, she was smaller. The bluster peeled away to reveal the scared fat girl who'd probably bullied her way to this throne to feel tall. For a heartbeat, pity flickered. America's a hard place for the insecure, chewing up the vulnerable and spitting out villains. But then I remembered the night of the barbecue, her fingers stabbing the air at Okoye, a man who'd lost family to civil war, reduced to shifty foreigner. The fines that nearly bankrupted me after the divorce, when I was scraping by on ramen and remote gigs. "Karen," I said, voice even as lake water, "you built this." Every clipboard crusade, every 911 speed dial. You want to control? You got it. Right up until it controlled you. She sagged against the jam, sobs hitching. "What do you want? Money?" The truck fine back. I shook my head, the plan crystallizing. Resign. Publicly. Apologize to the community and the embassies. Write an op-ed for the Post. How I learned to stop worrying and love the block party. Do it, or the leaks keep coming. Your pyramid scheme Ponzi, the affair with Bob the Treasurer. Yeah, I know. Her gasp was theatrical, but the fight drained out like air from a pinprick balloon. "You bastard. This is blackmail." "Nah," I replied, stepping back into the light of my foyer, warm and inviting. "This is accountability. The American way. Sue me if you want, but good luck finding a jury in this zip code." She slunk away into the downpour, a ghost in the gloom, and I closed the door soft as a whisper. Victory tasted like that Bordeaux from the French consulate. Dry, complex, with notes of justice long delayed. Months later, Willow Creek breathed easier. The new board, folks like Patel and Jenkins, axed half the bylaws through a Freedom Fest barbecue that drew half the township. No clipboard in sight. I even got a plaque. Jake Harlan, ambassador of good vibes. The divorce scars faded too. I started dating a consular aide with a laugh like summer thunder. Our first outing in Nationals game. Hot dogs and high fives under the dome. Karen? She vanished, sold the McMansion at a loss, relocated to some Florida condo where HOAs are milder. Rumors say she's clerking at a Publix, stocking shelves with the humility of the fallen. No redemption arc, no tearful montage, just the quiet bitterness of a life unlived, chasing control until it caged her. I drive by her old place sometimes, now rented to a young family with a trampoline and zero fines, and think, suburbia eats its own, but sometimes the meal fights back. And on quiet nights, grilling solo with the game on low, I raise a glass to the ambassadors, to Okoye, who sent a carved mask from Lagos, for the warrior who feasts with foes. Yeah, it was revenge, raw and righteous. But mostly it was reclaiming my patch of American dream, one flip burger at a time. The real unraveling though, didn't hit until the lawsuits started flying, paper tigers from Karen's camp that only fanned the flames higher. It was a Tuesday in August, humidity clinging like a bad conscience, when the certified letter arrived, gold-embossed stationery from some cut-rate attorney in Fairfax, demanding $50,000 for defamation, emotional distress, and conspiracy to oust a duly elected official. I laughed over my Wheaties, the kind of bark that echoes in empty kitchens, because I'd seen this movie, The Bully's Last Stand, flailing with legalese like a toddler with a water gun. But beneath the chuckle lurked the old paranoia, the divorce echo where my ex's lawyer had nickel and dimed me into selling the cabin upstate. I forwarded it to my state contact, a shark named Lydia who handled protocol breaches, and by lunch, she texted back, handled. Diplomatic channels plus her priors equals dismissal in 48 hours. Coffee on me. Priors? Turns out Karen's rap sheet was longer than a CVS receipt. 3 prior false 911s. One for a kid's birthday piñata she deemed explosive, a slapped wrist for harassment from her MLM days, even a civil suit from a neighbor she'd doxed over a feud about holiday lights. Lydia's handling involved a quiet word to the DA, federal interest in HOA misuse of emergency services. Poof, case vaporized, her lawyer ghosting faster than a Tinder match. Word spread like wildfire through the group chats, our neighborhood's digital town square. Karen's suing Jake? After she swatted ambassadors? Girls lost the plot. Emojis rained, clowns popcorn, middle fingers veiled as mushroom clouds. I could have let it die there, basked in the passive victory, but the betrayed part of me, the guy who trusted this cul-de-sac as family after the ex bailed, demanded more. Betrayal's a slow poison. Revenge, the antidote, bitter but bracing. So I doubled down, turning the spotlight into a flamethrower. Next community mixer. I pitched it casual over sangria. Hey, why not a podcast? Willow Creek Unfiltered. Real stories. No filters, just us airing the laundry. Eyes lit up. Patel's hubby, a sound engineer moonlighting for NPR, volunteered mics. We launched in my garage that fall, episodes dropping weekly. The Great Mailbox Massacre of 22, where Karen decreed rounded tops aesthetic abominations. Fines from the crypt, tallying her $20,000 slush fund. Listeners tuned in by the hundreds. First locals, then podchasers from our /HOL, cresting at 10K downloads when we dropped the 9/11 fiasco, a diplomat's barbecue gone rogue. Karen's response? Crickets at first, then a sputtering Facebook Live from her living room. Backdrop of cat tchotchkes and half-eaten lean cuisines. This is slander. Jake Harlan's a puppet for globalists, turning our haven into a UN outpost. Views? 47 likes? 12, mostly your bridge club. Comments? A slaughter. Lady, your haven is a prison yard with better sod. Blink twice if you're being held hostage by your own ego. It was brutal, the internet's coliseum where Karens go to die, and I watch from the sidelines, producer hat on, ensuring every barb landed true. But the real gut punch came personal. One drizzly October eve, as leaves choked the gutters, and I raked solo. Ex always hated yard work. A minivan idled at the curb. Not hers. This was a nondescript rental, but the silhouette behind the wheel? Her oldest, Tyler, the 4-night fiend turned community college dropout. He hopped out awkward, hoodie sagging, eyes darting like he'd rather be anywhere. Dad said to check on Mom. She's not great. I paused, rake mid-swoop, the air sharp with wet earth. Tyler and I had history. Backyard soccer games where I'd sub for his absentee pops. Tips on girls that Karen vetoed as frivolous. Now he looked hollowed. The entitled gleam dulled to desperation. What happened? I asked, leaning on the handle. He shrugged, kicking mulch. After the lawsuit tanked, she started drinking. The hard stuff, not her Chardonnay. Yelling at us kids about ingrates and the neighborhood betrayal. Dad packed up last week, said enough's enough. Pity surged again, unbidden, but I quashed it. This was her alchemy, turning venom into voids, alienating even her own blood. Tyler, your mom's built a life on tearing others down. Time she learns to build up. He nodded, throat bobbing. Heard the pod? That episode on the fines? She cried for days. Says you're the devil. I snorted soft. Devil's just the mirror she avoids. Tell her the next one's on HOA Heirlooms, passing the torch of tyranny. Invite her to guest. Air it out. He left with a fist bump, the van's taillights fading into fog, and I finished raking alone, the labor of meditation on mercy's edge. Was I the villain now, twisting the knife with podcasts and leaks? Nah. America's story is underdogs flipping scripts, from Hamilton duels to Twitter takedowns. Karen chose her battles. I chose the war. By Thanksgiving, the pod hit viral, featured on The Daily as Suburban Schadenfreude, when Karens collide with karma. Sponsors trickled in: a lawn care app, Mo Free, Live Free, a craft beer collab, HOA Haze IPA, bitter but balanced. I funneled proceeds to a neighborhood legal aid fund, arming folks against future Whitakers. The board even etched a plaque by the pool. In memory of overreach, may it rest in peace. Karen's silence stretched, a vacuum sucking in speculation. Rumors swirled. Nervous breakdown, elopement with Bob, divorce now, naturally. Even a half-baked tell-all book, my life as HOA queen, betrayed by the backyard brigade. I ignored most, focus on the wins. My date with the consular aide blooming into weekends at Shenandoah, hikes where we swapped war stories over trail mix. You're ruthless, she teased once, lacing fingers atop a vista. Nah, I shot back. Just American, equal opportunity for comeuppance. But winter brought the blizzard, literal and figurative. Snow blanketed Willow Creek in white-out hush, plows rumbling like distant thunder, and I woke to my driveway uncleared, standard post-storm protocol, neighbors pitching in since the divorce. Except mine was a skating rink, treacherous as Karen's grudges. Slipping out for salt, phone buzzed, Tyler again. Mom's in the ER. Fall on ice. Her drive, too. She wouldn't let anyone help. Doc say hip fracture, maybe worse. Guilt gnawed, sharp as frostbite. I shoveled furious, the scrape of blade on concrete of penance, then drove to the hospital, Fairfax General's sterile, glow cutting the night. She lay in a semi-private, monitors beeping soft, her bulk swathed in Johnny, for dripping morphine dreams. Tyler hovered, siblings absent, offspring exodus complete. She asked for you, he muttered, eyes red-rimmed. I approached slow, the room smelling of antiseptic and regret. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then sharpening to that old accusation. Harlan, come to gloat. Voice raspy, but the hook was there, baited with venom. I pulled up a chair, elbows on knees. Came to talk. No gloating, just truth. You built walls, Karen. Fences, fines, calls to cops. Kept everyone out, including you. She turned away, jaw clenching. Easy for you. Mr. Big Shot with his fancy friends. I protected this place. Standards, Jake. Without me, it's chaos. But her whisper cracked, the morphine loosening tongues. Husband gone, kids hate me. Board blacklisted me everywhere. Even Publix won't hire. Said my energy's off. What now? For the first time, I saw her. Not the monster, but the mess. A woman who'd weaponized insecurity into isolation. American dream twisted into nightmare. Start with sorry. I said gentle. Not to me, to them. The neighbors, your boy here. Hell, write that op-ed. Lessons from a lawn warrior. People eat up redemption. Look at Martha Stewart. She chuckled wet, a cough rattling ribs. Me? Vulnerable? I'd rather die. Silence stretched, snow tapping the window like impatient fingers. Then, softer, why help? After everything. I shrugged. Because revenge is a circle. Karen, I got mine. Now it's yours to break. Or not. Your call. I left her there, the beep of machines a metronome to unfinished symphonies, and drove home through drifts, radio, crooning Dylan, like a rolling stone. Tyler texted later. THX. She's thinking. Small victories, the kind that thaw winters slow. Spring unfurled green and forgiving. Tulips punching through mulch like middle fingers to the frost. The pod wrapped season 1 with a live finale. Clubhouse packed, Mike's hot, stories spilling like craft brews. No Karen, but her shadow loomed, a ghost in the green room. I'd heard whispers. Therapy, mandated by the settlement, Lydia's doing quietly. A part-time gig at a garden center. Irony's chef's kiss. My life. Steady bloom. The aide, now girlfriend, Elena, moved in, her Korean tacos fusing with my ribs for fusion feasts that drew the block. Ambassadors rotated through, turning my backyard into an unofficial embassy annex. Laughter drowning old echoes. Betrayal scar? Faint now, a tattoo of resilience. Yet on still nights, staring at fireflies winking like conspirators, I wonder, did I break her or set her free? America's a forge. Hammers fall, but so do walls. Karen Whitaker? Last I heard, she's penning that piece, submission pending. Bitter end? Maybe. Or just the start of something less armored. Summer 26 hit like a heat wave hangover. The kind where AC units groan and ice cream trucks warble off-key anthems down cul-de-sacs, turn soundness. Willow Creek simmered, but the peace was fragile, laced with the aftertaste of upheaval, like biting into a peach and finding the pit lodged deep. I'd thought the podcast finale would seal it, a bow on the chaos, but Karen's thinking morphed into something uglier. A counteroffensive, guerrilla style, the desperate swipes of a dethroned diva. It kicked off with flyers, neon pink, tacked to mailboxes at dawn like guerrilla warfare pamphlets. The truth about Jake Harlan, puppet master of persecution, stapled to each, blurry printouts of my divorce decree, public record but twisted, adulterer exposed, and a screed about foreign influences corrupting American values. Neighbors texted pics, a barrage of eye rolls. She's unhinged. Burner account, but the venom stuck, a low hum of doubt rippling through the group chat. Even Patel hesitated. Jake, it's nuts, but the divorce stuff? We didn't know. That stung, betrayal's sequel. Trust eroded not by facts, but whispers weaponized. Elena found me on the porch that eve, sweat beading as I nursed a seltzer, the grill cold for once. Babe, ignore it. She's cornered, lashing like a bobcat in a sack. Her hand on my shoulder, cool and sure, but I shook my head. It's not the lies, it's the reminder. Suburbia's a village, one witch hunt, and you're the witch. She squeezed, fierce, then fight smart, expose the source, turn her flyers into fuel. Inspiration struck over empanadas that night. Her family's recipe, spicy, layered, the perfect metaphor. We crowdsourced on the pod's Discord. Operation Flyer Flip. Volunteers digitized the drivel, ran it through meme generators, Karen's mug, pilfered from her old HOA headshot, photoshopped onto historical tyrants. Marie Antoinette with a clipboard, Nero fiddling a leaf blower. Hashtags trended local. Karen comeback fail, Willow witch hunt too. By morning, her truth was Twitter fodder, amplified by a Hill staffer who'd guessed it on episode 3. Karen escalated, of course, phoning the pod sponsor, that lawn app, screeching about libelous landscapes. They laughed her off, tweeting, "Our grass is greener, thanks to free speech." But the personal toll mounted. Crank calls at odd hours, my truck egged in the night, teenage accomplices. Her kids were ghosts now. Sleep frayed, dreams looping the 911 sirens with divorce sobs. Elena's whispers my anchor in the dark. The breaking point came mid-July, a heat index pushing 110, when Tyler showed at my door, bruised cheek, duffel slung like a lifeline. Mom flipped, threw a vase at Dad's photo, missed, hit me instead. Cops came, again. She's talking lawsuit. Round 2. Says you'll testify against her character. He's slumped on the stoop. 19 going on 40, the weight of filial fallout bowing his shoulders. I ushered him in, Elena brewing iced tea strong as sympathy. Stay here, kid. Couch is yours. We'll sort it. Over mugs that clinked like confessions, he spilled. Karen's downward spiral postier, booze binges, midnight rants about the great betrayal, alienating the last allies. Husband filed for separation, citing emotional terrorism. Kids scattered to cousins, college deferrals. She blames you, Jake. Says you poison the well. But it's her. Always has been. His voice cracked, echo of my own post-divorce haze, and something shifted, revenge receding, replaced by reluctant kinship. We called a powwow next morn, bored and a dozen neighbors in my AC'd living room. Fans whirring like jury murmurs. Tyler front and center, script in hand. Mom needs help. Real help, rehab, not retaliation. But she won't go without. Leverage. Eyes turned to me, expectant. I exhaled slow. The room's humidity, a metaphor for unresolved rot. No more games. We offer a truce. She checks involuntarily. We drop the countersuit. Pod hiatus till she's stable. And an on-air apology. Hers, unedited. Murmurs rippled. Forgiveness fatigue. The community's collective sigh. Patel nodded first. It's Christian. Or American. Whatever. Let's end the cycle. Jenkins grunted assent, fanning himself with a bylaws pamphlet. By dusk, envoys, Tyler and a counselor from the county's crisis line, drove to her door, ultimatum wrapped in olive branch. She emerged hours later, hollow-eyed in a house dress faded as her fight, signing papers with a pen that trembled. Tell Harlan. It's not surrender. It's strategy. But her shoulders slumped, the visor long discarded, and as the van pulled away toward a facility in Bethesda, discreet, effective, I felt the circle close. Not triumph, but truce, the bitter pill of empathy. Words spread subdued. No victory laps, just quiet nods at the pool, barbecues dialed back to whispers. Elena and I hiked the Potomac trails that weekend, her hand in mine, the river's rush washing away the grime. You did good, she said, pausing to overlook D.C. spires hazy in heat. Mercy over malice. That's the real revenge, living better. I pulled her close, the cities hum a distant promise. Yeah, but if she backslides, we've got the receipts. Fall colored the leaves in fire, a palette of redemption's edge. Tyler crashed with us through September, interning at Elena's consulate, filing visas, finding footing. The pod relaunched light, healing the cul-de-sac, episodes on boundaries, not blow-ups. Listeners tuned in softer, stories of their own Karens yielding to catharsis. Karen's progress? Stunted at first. Relapse whispers a denied discharge. But by Halloween, a card arrived, scrawled note, her hand steadier. Group made me see. Controls illusion. Thanks for the mirror, devil. Okay, no apology yet, but the op-ed pitched, from H.O. a hammer to humble pie, and accepted by a local rag, print run including Willow Creek. I read it aloud to Tyler over pumpkin ale, his laugh tentative but true. She's trying. God, that's weird. America, I thought, land of second acts, where villains pen memoirs and heroes host therapy circles. Betrayals sting? Dulled to lesson, the first-person saga of a suburb saved, one uncomfortable truth at a time. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow at the feast. Was this endgame or intermission? Karen Whitaker, Phoenix or Ash? Only the next cul-de-sac crisis would tell. For now, I carved pumpkins with Elena and Ty, jack-o'-lantern grins mocking the ghosts we'd banished. Sweet release, in 400 thread count sheets, and 0 fines. Winter 26 to 27 clamped down hard, a polar vortex that turned Willow Creek into a Narnia knockoff. Snowdrifts swallowing driveways, icicles daggering eaves like frozen resentments. Elena and I hunkered in, fortifying with fondue nights and foreign films, Tyler's presence a buffer against the chill. He'd landed a gig at the Japanese embassy, translation side hustle, his stutter from stress smooth to silver tongue. Thanks to you, he'd say, clinking mugs. Mom's echo chamber? Busted. Speaking of, updates trickled from the facility. Group therapy breakthroughs, a sponsor named Marla, ex-HOA enforcer herself, irony's gift, tentative outreach to the ex. No miracles, just miles. Sober stretches pushing 90 days, a part-time remote admin job for a nonprofit, community conflict resolution, of all things. Tyler forwarded emails, her tone thawing from terse to tentative. Tell Jake the op-ed's out. Reviews say it's brutally honest. Who knew? Attach PDF, her byline staring back. Pudgy face softer in the author pic, no visor, just vulnerable eyes. I read it poolside, unfrozen by then. Boards knew no drama clause in effect. The words a wormwood tonic. Admissions of power trips masking postpartum isolation, divorce-era pettiness projected onto lawn layabouts like me. I called 911 on ambassadors because I feared irrelevance, she wrote. Turns out, the real invasion was my ego. Comments online? Mixed bag. Half huzzahs for humility, half heckles. Too little, too late, Karen. But Willow Creek's take? Shoulder shrugs at the grocery. Patel sliding me a copy with a wink. Progress. We'll see. Spring 27 bloomed tentative. Dogwoods blushing against azalea riots. The neighborhood stirring like a bear from hibernation. The pod announced Season 3. Rebuilds and reckonings. With a guest slot open. Tyler nudged. Pitcher. Closure's the hook. Elena agreed. Her diplomat's poise unyielding. America forgives hustlers who hustle back. Give her the mic. I did. One email, neutral as Swiss. Audition? No gotchas. Your story, your terms. Reply came swift, scared shitless. But yeah, for Ty. Recording day, dawn muggy. My garage studio humid with history. Mike's sweating like us. She arrived in a sensible sedan. Borrowed, she admitted. Khakis loose on her frame. Down 40 pounds from stress and steps programs. No makeup, hair tamed to a bob. The scowl? Retired, replaced by a nervous half-smile. We eased in, small talk over waters, her cats too, rehomed from kids, my national season pass. Then roll. Karen Whitaker, welcome to Willow Creek Unfiltered. Last time we met, sirens were involved. Catch us up. She inhaled deep, voice steadying. Jake, can I call you that? I was the villain. Full stop. Fines weren't protection. They were panic. After my third kid, husband checked out, I control what I could. Your truck? Pathetic projection. The 911? Rock bottom. Dialing danger on decency. The rawness riveted. Tyler's eyes misty in the booth. Elena nodding from shadows. She owned the affair with Bob. Midlife mess. Mutual madness. The MLM pyramid desperate for dollars and dominance. Even the post-divorce mailbox ambush, cruelty as camouflage. Betrayal, she paused, glancing my way. I was the betrayer, trust, tranquility, my own damn family. Rehab's teaching, let go or get dragged. Q&A flowed fierce, callers venting. You find my grandma's ramp, ADA violation. Her apologies earnest, edged with edge. I can't undo. I can only amend. By rap, download spike pre-release, word of mouth wildfire. Listeners lauded. Karen's glow up, any Marvel arc. Critics carpade, pity play. But the metric that mattered? Ty's HUD post mic, her whisper, proud mom. Really? Aftermath? Ripple effects, the good kind. Board invited her to consult. Volunteer vetting, no veto power. And she accepted, clipboard swapped for collaboration. Neighbors thawed slow. Jenkins shared his smoker's secrets over fences. Patel co-hosted a harmony happy hour. My life synced sweeter. Elena and I engaged under cherry blossoms. Rings simple as her smile. Wedding whispers for fall. Ambassadors returned. Sato, gifting sake. To foes turned friends. Rare vintage. Yet the bitter lingered, a drag in the cup. One eve, post-engagement toast, Tyler dropped a bomb. Mom's dating. Some recovery group guy, retired cop, ironic huh? Says she's happy but watchful. Elena raised brow. Redemption's road, potholes included. I nodded, but sleep evaded, mind replaying her op-ed line. Control's illusion. Was mine? The pod, the payback. Had I puppeteered too? Climax crash Memorial Day. Annual parade turned potluck, flags snapping in breeze. Karen manned a booth. HOA harmony tips, flyers touting fences for friends, not foes. Crowd milled polite, but tension hummed when I strolled up with Elena, Ty trailing. Her eyes met mine, wary but warm. Congrats on the rock, she said, nodding at the ring. Deserved. Small talk stuttered. Weather, weddings. Then a kid's balloon popped nearby, sharp as memory. She flinched. I did too. Still get sirens in my sleep, she confessed low. You fades. I lied, then truth, but the lesson sticks. We're all one bad call from breakdown. She nodded, throat tight. Truce holds? No more leaks. None needed. We're good. Handshake awkward, palms damp, but real. America's awkward grace, enemies to echoes. As she turned to Chattanooga, I watched. Lighter step, laugh genuine, the obese ogre slim to human scale. Endgame? No tidy bow, just the ongoing. Karen's date fizzles. Cop 2 by the book, but she thrives solo, penning a blog. From fine to fine print, a reformed regulator's read. Willow Creek evolves. Bylaws slimmed, block parties booming, my garage pod a community hub. Betrayal's first-person fog? Lifted to clarity, the betrayed turned bridge builder. On our wedding day, October blaze of oaks, she sends a card. To Jake and Elena, may your covenants be consensual. Grateful for the grudge that grew grace. KW. I tuck in a drawer, not forgotten, but filed under forward. Suburbia's saga. Arguments aired, backlash balanced, frustration forged to fortitude. Bitter for Karen? Once. Now bittersweet, like craft ale after a long haul, quenching the thirst for tomorrow. And as Elena and I dance under string lights, echo of that fateful barbecue, the circle completes. Revenge? A chapter closed. Life? The real hook, unfolding unexpected, one neighborly nod at a time.